This little application again does something that we couldn't do with just some HTML. What it does is it has the path to Rebol, it's got the Rebol header, it's got the little default line that we need to print, and then prints out HTML, prints out a page title, and then it has this code. And what it's going to do is look on the web server for a file on that same directory, a file called users.txt. If that exists, it's going to run this code. It's going to read in the lines from that users.txt, it's going to sort it, and assign it to the variable data, and then it's going to print those lines onto the web page. And then it's going to close up the HTML tags. And so this is the code. Save that as a file and I uploaded it as example 4. And here it reads what's in those users.txt file, the items that are in users.txt, and it prints them out. And that could be any other information that we wanted to save and include on our web page. It allows us to have some changeable data on the website. It doesn't seem that interesting, but it's very useful because it allows us to do just about anything we would want to do with Rebol. We can now create as an online application, have it run on our server, and have it give information back to the user. The basis for all online applications that use CGI. In order to allow the user to submit information and interact with the website, we need to include what are called forms. Forms are basically the web page equivalent of GUI widgets. And all forms have, again, a starting tag. And in that starting tag, there's an action. And what that action does is it's going to allow you to send other information that's submitted on the form. In this case, we have a little text widget. And we have a submit button. When that submit button is pressed, it sends the information that the user has typed in to this address. And that address is whatever you want it to be, whatever your web server is, and whatever you call your Rebol script. It's gonna take the information that was submitted, send it to that CGI, and that CGI can take over and process some of the information that was sent by the user. So understanding forms is the most important part of being able to understand HTML and CGI programming. You should look up a tutorial on HTML forms in Google. There are plenty of them, and understand a bit more about the possible options. There are text areas, there are drop-down boxes, and that sort of thing. That's essential for learning how to create CGI programs. So there are two parts to creating most CGI scripts. You need a form, and then you need a CGI program that does something with the information that's submitted by that form. What happens is, in these scripts to which forms are submitted, to which the action points, you need to include this bit of code. So now you create a CGI program that does something with that submitted information. And the way you get the information that's been submitted is you use this code. Decode CGI, and this refers to the information that's been submitted. You can assign a variable to it. Here we're going to assign a word to it, and that would assign anything that's been submitted by that page to the variable a word, and we can use that then in the program. And here's an example of a program that would take that previous form, and you can see in the previous form that we've submitted this username, and if we point it to an address that contains this CGI script, again we've got the three main lines, we've got the HTML head, title, and body, and what we're going to do is decode the information that's been sent to this CGI script, store it in the variable username, and then print in the HTML body hello username. And the way this works in Rebol is you refer to the information that's been decoded, the items. There can be any number of items submitted on a HTML form. The first item is actually username /1 or second username. the next item, the second item, is actually username 4. It goes in multiples of 2. So the first item is 2, the next item is 4, the next item is 6, and so on. That's a bit confusing, but you'll get used to it as we go through these examples. So what this does is, we'll take a look at this example again. Example 5.html, and it's got the title data entry form, and it's got the text field, and it's got a submit button. I'm going to click on that submit button. I'm going to click on my name here. I'm going to click on the submit button. That goes to another page. It points toward the action button, points towards this tutorial example 6.cgi. That tutorial 6 CGI decodes what's been typed in, what's been sent to it, receives that data, and assigns it a variable and allows us to do something with it, which in this case we're just going to print hello, my name. If I go back to that page and type in something else, if I type in John Smith, click on the submit button, the CGI will get that information. Smith. Now it'll say hello John Smith. So that web page is completely interactive at this point. We can send information to this CGI program using a form. We have two separate files here. It's important to understand there are two separate files. There's one that looks like this, which we upload and call something.html. In this case, it was tutorial example 5.html. It was saved as I say, type that text in, saved it, and uploaded it to the web server. And then when that button is clicked, sends the information to this this page, and we get the hello. And so that's a key thing to understand. There are two files. Now, the next example has actually both of those files included in one application. This is really the way you usually see these CGIs in Rebol exist. And you can see at the bottom of this program, we have at the top the same three default things: the path to Rebol, the Rebol header, and then the content. And we're going to start by opening up some HTML, putting the title guestbook at the top, and then we're going to do some stuff. And just so you see at the very bottom, what we're doing here is actually printing a form that contains all the information that we would, or contains all the HTML that would actually be in a separate HTML file. So we don't need to have a separate file. That form has an action which is actually going to point back to this very same script, this very same address, wherever we store this script, this whatever we give this name .cgi on our web server. It's actually going to be pointing back to itself. And so we're going to see on this page a form that points to the page itself, and some text that says please enter your name, and then we have another little text input field and a submit button, and it closes the body in the HTML. And that's printed. But first, what this is going to do is it's going to do some checks. First it says, when we start the HTML printing out, we print out this HTML, and it says here's a list of visitors who have signed this page. It prints a carriage return. In HTML, to print a carriage return, you use this little bit of code, BR for line break, inside pointy brackets. And then next, we're going to make a check. Okay, and here's where the logic is in this program. We've got a bit of Rebol code here. We've got a conditional either, so it's going to check, and it's going to do one thing if this users.txt file that we saw earlier exists. If it exists, we're going to do something. If it doesn't exist, we're just going to write it. So the very first time this program is used on a website, it's going to go through, it's going to print out, here's a list of visitors who have signed this page, and a line return, and it's going to check. And if that users.txt file doesn't exist, it's just going to write it to the hard drive as blank, and it's going to print out the form. And so it'll give the user a option to enter some information down at the bottom. If it does exist, what it's going to do is decode the information that's been sent to